on. Hello, everyone. Don't mind Crystal having people at her door. Hello, we're live, but hi, friends. You're live on Crystal's Bookish Life for Rake Appreciation Society. Woo!
Hello. Just our daily UPS man making a delivery. I'm like, you don't need to ring the doorbell anymore. I know you're coming here every day. Just drop it off and leave.
Don't make me face my addiction. All the books showing up. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. Is everyone ready for this? Because it's gonna be good. I'm like waiting. I don't know. I think it's another way too, because I feel like some people I saw in the group did read everything to get to this one. Like there's people who binged the Robin Elms. But there's also some people I feel like that if they felt like there was too much to read, maybe they didn't.
Yeah, I had a few people ask if they could read it just on its own.
I know.
I mean, you could, but I don't know that you're going to love it as much as the rest of us.
Yeah. But
I mean, I'm assuming we all loved it.
I mean, and maybe they will too. And this is the book that makes them read everything.
That's true.
I mean, that's the thing I think is funny now is so many people don't like Cold Hearted Rake. Like everyone agrees it's probably her like one of her worst book or least whatever. And it's literally the book that got me into her. So I always think it's funny because that was the first book I read and I binged all the other books because I read Cold Hearted Rake. So it's just funny to me.
Yeah.
But
the first book I read by her was Lady Sophia's Lover, and I didn't love that one, but
yeah, that's another.
Yeah. But I think the next book I read of hers was again The Magic, and I freaking loved it. So
yeah, you're welcome. That was the first vlog you ever did about me, so I felt special back then.
Yeah.
That was an interesting mix too. That like McKenna. I don't know if he's not on my like top anymore, but that book still is, but yeah. I mean, Care kind of kicks everyone else off the mountain.
Yes.
Get into it, but so ready to scream about it. Yes. So excited. I've been like, yeah. I don't know. I read so few books physically that slowly anymore. And I mean, Crystal and we read this on the same day pretty much.
Yeah, you finished it way before I did, though.
Well, yeah, but we started it at the same time.
We did.
You have more stuff to do than me.
But I also I mean, I still read it in a day, but I was like, I didn't want it to be over. Like, it was one of those reading experiences where I was just like enjoying it so much that I just like didn't want it to end.
Right. Oh, Tori, you're still reading it. Oh my gosh. Well, we're not going to start the spoilers quite yet, so you're fine. We're just general adoration right now. Well, I mean, it's funny. You started Gothic Con at the same time as me too, and it took you like a week.
It took me like 5 days to read that one.
You were just like, oh, I don't like it. And then you're like, I gave it 5 stars. And I was like, what?
Well, and the thing about reading this in a day is that like my Sundays I can read all day and not work. So I read this on a Sunday. I started Gothic Con on like a Tuesday. So it's like I could only read like 10 pages a night and stuff. But
yeah. Thanks, Candace. I try to be creative now and then.
Yeah, I love it too. It's so good.
I was like, that threw me off too in the beginning. I know that happens because that happens earlier in the series that he becomes that, right? Like Sebastian gets his title upgrade. Does that happen in Devil's Daughter? Or does it
Sebastian?
Well, yeah, because he's not called Saint Vincent.
Kingston. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets an upgrade.
So yeah, I was wondering, is that Devil's Daughter? Is that when that happens? I can't remember the specifics.
I don't know. Justin will probably know.
It could be that one, Devil in Spring. Yeah.
But in this one, Gabriel's still called, but he's called Lord St. Vincent. So maybe his dad already is the next thing.
Yeah.
Because that would be why, because Gabriel's the oldest, I think. I don't know. But I hope that this crossover thing. So I feel vindicated. And I've talked with Justin about this a lot. I feel like they called this the Ravenels Meet the Wallflowers purely for like publicity purposes, because the Ravenels are pretty much irrelevant besides showing up in the way that like other of her characters show up in other stuff. Like Craven shows up in other stuff, but it's not, or not Jenners and stuff like that. Sorry, Craven's, it doesn't show up. It's burnt. But yes, okay. So it happens in between there. Well, that would make sense because that's the time jump. Because his dad's still alive in the other series, but he's no good is kind of the point, I think. Maybe I'm making that up, but I think so. Anyway, I feel like it was called that purely for publicity purposes, because this book should be its own series. Like, it should be the start of whatever she wants to call the series about their children, because we also all agree that all of the Wallflower kids need to be in books. So I don't know. That's my thought, is that they were like, well, let's just make it number 7 instead of confusing people. You know, let's do that. But this should have been its own. It should have been its own thing, in my opinion. Anyone else? Yeah. And so many people love chasing Cassandra. So they're probably just like, keep going.
It felt like it really felt to me like there was like so much about this book that was specific to fans. Like, she was doing so much that fans would love. So it seems like making it a Ravenels Meets Wallflowers was really just sort of like, look, fans, here's more of your more of your people that you love.
Right. Well, and also on like Goodreads and on like when the press release came out, it was called Ravenels number 6. And then when this came out, it said Ravenels Meets the Wallflowers. And I feel like we have to add Wallflowers on here because there's only Ravenels. There's only Garrett and Phoebe that show up. So we can't really call it Ravenels.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just a part of, she had to do that. But if there's not the Wallflower kids, what are you doing with your life? Like, I'm just saying. It could span the 2 continents too, because we got some Wallflowers living in America. Okay, if Lisa Kleypas did Gilded Age, wouldn't it be the best fucking?
Oh my gosh, I would die if she did Gilded Age.
With all the trash that gets in Gilded Age, not all Gilded Age, but the stuff that comes with Gilded Age. I've read so many damn Gilded Age lately that I'm just like, I can't get into this subgenre of romance.
You've really had a time with Gilded Age. It's not been a good year for you.
No. And it's not just one author. I've tried multiples, and they never, like Lions and Lace.
That was like the OG one, wasn't it? One of the original Gilded Age.
And I mean, that one works for everyone else but me, apparently, because so many people wanted me to read that, and I was like, But then again, I used to like Catherine Coulter when I was 14, so people like Lion and Lace when you're 14. It's fine. Because this is jumping off point for a new series, and the rest of them won't match. Oh, yeah.
I was so happy that this was a regular mass market size, but I know that will probably not be the case, because I believe Bombshell, the Sarah McLean, is not. It's the. You got a copy of it, didn't you? It's the mass market plus size.
At least she has a couple on the back. Where is Kier?
Yeah.
Where the fuck is Kier, everybody?
I'm sad about that.
Even Tom is on like the side. Like, I used to have the one where he was in the step back. I foolishly switched to hardcovers. It was a mistake, but even Tom was in that one. Where is Kier? Where is he?
Like, I have such a strong visual in my head of what he looks like. It's just.
I know. I love it.
Well,
okay.
Should we talk about ratings? I mean, I think most people know what we rated it, but
do we need to?
Let's let the people in the comments who are watching, if you rated it, give us your star rating. Let's hear what you think.
Yeah.
I know they're not doing step backs anymore. That, like, they're doing away with them, and that makes me literally want to cry. Like, I hate it so bad. They did do Kier Graham.
Someone started a petition to get them to bring him back. I shared it. I was like, I signed it. I shared it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll work, but But again, at least on Bombshell, they were on the back of it.
Yeah,
like
that's
Bombshell,
true.
they're together on the back of it. Since the book is wider, they have like the text and they have him. There's no him.
No
There's
him.
no him. Okay, what's everyone's
Okay,
rating?
let's do ratings. Let's see. 5 stars.
So.
Stacy, 5 stars. Jelly, 5 stars.
And if you gave it 5, you need to have your reasons. I'm just
yeah. T, you gotta tell us why. Why 4 stars?
Okay, see, someone did. Awkward Annie says she doesn't like Magic Baby. That is fair. That is absolutely fair.
Yeah, that's a fair critique for sure.
My only thing where I'm okay with Magic Baby in historical is because what the fuck did doctors know?
Exactly. That when they told her diagnosis, I'm like, how did they know? How did they know that's what she had?
Yeah, did like I wanted like Garrett to be like, what did that doctor say to you? Let me look at you and see what's going on. You know what I mean? But I agree that can be triggering to have Magic Baby. So.
Yeah, I can see, like, I could definitely see how that would drag it down. I loved that because I love that, but I understand that not everyone's going to.
The grandpas.
I know.
Seriously, the grandpas were just like, we're gonna have the best looking kid. What's it say? He was like, you realize my first grandchild was sired by your illegitimate offering. With my looks and your brains. It could have my looks and your brains. Oh, my perfect world would be a holiday novella.
That would be super fun. You know, that's actually, I haven't read The Wallflower Christmas yet. I'm saving it for this Christmas.
Me too.
Yeah.
I could have read it last year, but I just don't do Christmas novellas. It's so hard.
You don't like Christmas. I love them. I don't.
Because it's never a full. I don't like novellas much at all.
Same. Novellas are a hard sell for me. I'm not a fan.
When it's with characters that I love them, I'm willing to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I finished Wallflowers last year. Did I finish that? No, I did finish them last year because I read again the Magic Choice this year. But okay. What else did people say? Oh, especially since Kyr's story is about being adopted. Yes,
that's true. That's very true.
That's true. And that was something that I thought when she says it to him. Like when she says to him, I am afraid that will be why you don't want. And he's like, woman, I'm adopted.
Yeah.
Which is something that I feel like maybe she didn't do that since she just did that. Chasing Cassandra's an adoptive one. So maybe she just didn't do 2 in a row. Who knows? But Magic Baby took off half point. Okay.
Yeah. And I agree. Like I feel like from what I've read so far, Dreaming of You is still my favorite. Other than this one, like I feel like this one edges Dreaming of You out a little bit. But they're very, very close for me.
Yeah. I think it's funny. Like, I love that you love that one the most. I just think if I'd read it as early in the journey as you did, I would love it the most.
So which one do you love the most, other than this one?
I love Chasing Cassandra or Again the Magic. Both more than that.
I love Again the Magic for sure. My camera is having issues, sorry.
It's just for me, it's what the plot of Dreaming of You is. Like, I get the Craven love. I love the story of her. There are beats in that story where I'm just like, meh. But Lisa Kleypas does it better than anyone else. Like, if that story was in someone else's hands, I have read that story in other people's hands, and it's not done as well. But I just didn't imprint on Craven the way that so many people do, because I read other ones first. I read the Wallflowers and the Ravenels first, and so I like it. So.
But even having read all of those, like I feel like Derek Craven is such. I mean, we're not going to talk a ton about him, but he's such a distinct hero. Like Lisa loves her alpha heroes so much, and she really kind of gets them so close to being a little bit of like an a-hole.
Yep.
And I feel like she did that a lot with Derek, but she was able to really just like sell him to me completely. Like, I don't know. I just loved how
she softens them just enough that they're not an asshole.
Yes.
You know.
Very true.
But yeah, for me, well, because for me, McKenna's like that. Like he comes in with fucking avenging rage. But for me, like, I feel him being wronged. Like, I feel the lost years, even though what she did was right, because he would have been like killed. Like her dad would have had him killed. She had to do it. But you just feel that pain of the like wasted years. And you know how I hate wasted years, but that works for me because of the setup and the fact that it happens so early in the book. I don't like splits when it's in the middle of the book. No. What else was I going to say? But yeah, I get it. But for me, there's just something about the heroine. Like I don't like Sarah as much. So, and for me,
that's true.
How much I love the hero is directly related to how like equal the heroine is to him in so many ways. And for me, like Tom and Cassandra, I just feel for her so much. Like, especially when I read that, I had my friends getting married and I'm the last, like really of my friends here, I'm the last one who's single. They're all gonna be having their lives. And I just love how she's like, what's wrong that I just want to get married? And all these people who didn't want to get married before me, they were getting married and I'm still here, you know? And so I just feel it. But
I love that book too. And I liked this comment right here about Tom's character growth. His character growth was phenomenal in that book for sure. Like that was the highlight for me because
when he comes in, oh my God, when he comes into that room with her family and is just like, sweetheart, I took care of it. And you're just so happy that he took care of it. You're not like, well, she could have handled it, because she couldn't. Like that dude was going to fuck over her life. And he was just like, nope, not today, Satan, not today. So good. But okay, we're talking about all the other ones. What's everybody saying here?
I'm just going to highlight this. I love that you got them all after I did that video. I love that so much. It makes me very happy.
So great.
Okay, we're talking about Dreaming of You again, but I really liked this because he really did break that rule, and that I bet that was quite.
No,
sorry,
you're wrong. Nope.
I bet that was quite just a really fun read when that came out at the time because it was so different. I actually don't even know when it was published.
Dreaming of You was like 92 or 3. I think that's one of them around my birth year. What I was going to say is that though, when I made I did a video that was class heroes. I did a video that was working class heroes, and half of them were hers. Like she does more working class heroes than she does nobility, most of them, or like second sons or further in the line. Like she does a lot of powerful men still because they're made men, but she does so many men. Like I think that Ethan and Kier are probably two of her like lowest power heroes she has, because even her other heroes who aren't nobility, they have lots of money and power. And Ethan is just he's an undercover, does what he does. And Kier, is just getting by. He's literally a working man living paycheck to paycheck. And this is a perfect segue 20 minutes into what happens at the beginning of this book. Let's do it.
We're just going to gush about all of Lisa's books. It's
fine.
We'll
talk about every other book except this one. But
okay.
How about their first meeting?
The first meeting? You want to talk about their first meeting?
Or what do you want to do? Do you want to go characters?
We can do characters. Whatever you want to do.
I want to do the whole book. So
do it. Just take off.
Let's start with the first meeting, because I know Justin loves that. And when I reread it, I was paying very close attention to the first meeting because she said that. Because I agree. I think these two people both have this initial respect. I think we've seen this kind of first meeting happen before, and it starts a hate to love relationship where maybe he's rude because he thinks a woman can't do it and is like, all my stuff is fucked up and it's like your fault. And she would have been like, well, I'm going to show him a thing or two, thinking women can't do things. But that is so not what happens. They're just both see who the other person is, and they're like, he's having a rough day, and he's like, she really cares about this, and it's beautiful.
It is. It's such a beautiful meeting. And you know, I didn't really recognize that until you said that you're right. That really could have been a setup for them to be enemies, but instead of like having those preconceived notions, like they are seeing everything that is good about that other person, and they're like in awe of that, and that's what starts the whole thing off. I love that. I love that so much. Yes.
Yeah. That whole first thing where okay, this is a weakness of mine. So Kier was already lighting everything up. His like last look at her when they're like leaving is he says he was dazzled by her, thinking that she could have been a mythical creature or a fairy or a goddess, but not a cold and aloof goddess, a small and merry one. And I was like, he sees her, he's clocked all of it. He's perfect.
Mm-hmm. I loved when they were talking about whiskey, and like in the very beginning, and she was saying how she'd never had good whiskey and it tasted like, I don't remember what she describes it, but I do remember how he suddenly starts talking about whiskey, and he's almost like poetic about it, about the way that it tastes. And I was just like struck by that. This big, sort of rough, very masculine, bearded man, and he just breaks into poetry about whiskey. And I'm like, that is when you know, that's the first inkling that you have that he's a romantic at heart, because he...
Oh my God, every word out of his mouth. Like, look at this. There's like, look at this. These are all, I can't even show it on here. Just every time he speaks, he's so in awe of her and just doesn't think he's worthy of her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and just the way she makes him speak. Like when they visit the one night and he's like, you're gonna turn me into a live coal on the floor. I have to rely on your common sense because I've lost mine. Like, oh my God, he's amazing.
Mm-hmm. He is like, he really made it. But I feel like it was like, if those words had come out of St. Vincent or Kingston's mouth, like they wouldn't have had the same effect, because Kingston is very polished. He knows what he's doing and what he's saying, and every word that he says is calculated, you know, so you wouldn't believe that his words were sincere. But with Kier, every single thing that he says to Merritt, like, you know, that is exactly how he feels. His sincerity is just like shining through, and it just like means so much.
Yeah, because it was like, it's without pretense. He's just saying what's there.
Yeah.
Whereas Sebastian, he feels deeply, but he is careful about when he shows it. You know?
Yeah, he is. But like, I mean, even like I listened to the audiobook just yesterday.
Yeah.
But even like the way she narrates his voice, and she's narrated all of the books with him in it, like you can just tell when she goes into that St. Vincent voice, I'm just like, this is a man who knows exactly what to say, you know?
It's so funny to me because I was looking back at my ratings of all the books, and I've shared this before, like, because of how it was hyped, I didn't like Devil in Winter as much as all the others. So I actually gave that one 4 stars, and I gave the first 2 I gave 5 stars, the second 2 I gave 4 stars. But every other book that's had St. Vincent in it after that, I've given 5 stars. Because I just love whenever he's there and his family, and it's so beautiful.
That is exactly what I thought, Christy. Like the minute he kept that paper, like I was texting Jesson as I was reading it because she had already read it.
Yeah.
And I was like, the typewriter paper. That was a Derek Craven gesture, and I was like, well, he has won me over.
No, it's a double punch too, because first she finds it in his pocket and he's like, I should go, because he's like, oh no, you know. and then when he remembers with it is so good too. Like,
I know.
It's perfectly placed. Chekhov's piece of paper.
Oh, it's so good. So we've talked about Care and their first meeting, and so let's see where I have talked a lot about Kier and how I feel about him, but where does he rank for you on heroes? Like,
yeah, he's my favorite. Yeah, it doesn't even like it, honestly, just because of the kind of story this one is and the kind of hero that he's allowed to be. I honestly, the only one who comes close is Tom. But Tom is for different reasons. Like, Tom is for different reasons for me. This one, like, I've said this, Kira's my favorite Kleypas hero. It's not even really a competition to me. And I've read all of her books, but 6 now. I've read all of them.
That's quite a lot.
Because as I've said, like, McKenna and Tom were my top 2 for a long time. But McKenna...
What about Cam Rohan?
Yeah, he's close, man. Yeah, he's up there too. But see, for me, like, he's playing off of Amelia, and Amelia's too antagonistic for me. So I love Cam and what he does, but he's always having to, like, when he makes a chivalrous move, he has to deal with her being too, well, you're not allowed to help me with that. And so that, like, again, for me, my hero can only be as good as his heroine lets him be. And
yeah, that's very true.
Lets him do it. So,
that's very true.
Like, and that's my thing. Okay, we're not. Nope. No. He's my favorite. I was about to go on another rant. No, I've done it. We're a half hour in already.
He is my favorite hero, too. He is absolutely my favorite. Before him, it was Derek Craven.
Yeah.
And so those are my top 2. And then, like, honestly, Marcus and St. Vincent are probably tied for 3. Yeah. But
I need to reread the original Wallflowers sometime now that I've read everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Marcus and St. Vincent gave me the warm fuzzies when we were in here too, because they're just...
Yeah.
I love older couples. So getting to see both of them, like, in here was great. It was so good. But no, for me, Kira blows past it, and then it's Tom and McKenna and Cam. I forgot about Cam, honestly. That's how much, because I forgot that I love Cam so much. Just went out of my head. And then Derek for me. Like, Derek makes the top 5, but kind of barely, because some of her older books too, she has great heroes in those older ones.
Yeah, and see, I haven't even finished the Hathaway series, and so I've only read the first 2, so I'm sure there are some good ones in there.
I mean, those are the 2 best heroes. You're going to like Harry. I think you'll like Harry a lot too.
Ethan is a great hero.
Yes, Ethan is a great hero. I think for me too, like, that book just doesn't impact me as much. Like, that book doesn't have anything like earth-shattering for me, but that's a good book. Like, Hello Stranger is a good book. Ethan's great. He's an essential part of the family. So
yeah. And I did like that he had more of a role in this. I thought that was fun and nice that she had him in there, because he did play a role in the other books, but, like, because of his parentage, like, that he's a Biblo, it's always sort of like, so I like seeing him included more.
Yeah. Ethan was great. Ethan's great.
I'm drinking Diet Coke tonight. It's my drink, like always.
I have Diet Mountain Dew and pineapple and Malibu, so it's great. Anyway, okay, so that's where he fits in my heroes. Let's talk about Merritt. Because there's not a heroine that comes close, in my opinion, for Merritt. And I would like to hear someone's argument. She's the best there's ever been.
I agree. She probably is. Like, honestly, I haven't even thought to rank the heroines.
I know. No one does. I think about it, though. Because like, Evie's close. I love Evie. And just like, the struggle she goes in. Like, the time when I was reading Devil in Winter, Evie's what made that book for me, actually. Because I said, like, St. Vincent was not my favorite. Just, I don't know. His redemption's great. It's great. But I like him better as an, like, older adult than I did in his. He's a great dad. That's what I'll say. He's an amazing dad. But we'll get to him. But Merritt's my favorite heroine by miles, probably.
I really like Lillian, too, as a heroine. But I do think that Merritt is probably the best. Like, I loved how capable she was. I loved how confident she was. I loved how she had no qualms at all about just taking over that business and running it. And that moment when she admits to care about her infertility and how she blames herself for her husband's death, like that little bit of vulnerability there that has just been haunting her was very, very touching.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I need to find some of that. That I had a box of that and then it was gone. Sorry, we're talking about drinks again.
That's okay. No, Evie's close. I mean, Cassandra's close. She does a lot of kind of the same things for me, like with Tom and his little street urchin, where she's like, you're gonna adopt him. Like when she puts that in the family, like in their marriage contract and stuff, like I like that kind of stuff with her. And I also really like, what's her name? I can't remember. It went out of my head. So I must not care that much. But yeah.
This is an excellent comment, Tiffany. Like, I love that too. She just demonstrates that she's capable, And even that moment when she's like pumping the water and he's like, oh, you can't do that. She's like, no, it's fine. I'm just going to, it's an indoor pump. We can do it. And then water everywhere, Like even that moment was her being confident, and capable. I don't know.
But then she laughs at herself. Like she doesn't get mad about it, That was very much like her mother. Like she's very much like her mother like that. But yeah, and just how like she's the best shot. She's this like, but she doesn't have to like brag about it or be pushy about it. And that was actually one thing I was going to bring up. If I had, this isn't even critique, but the one thing that didn't make sense to me, I was going to bring up one thing that didn't make sense to me was when he like leaves in the middle of the night. And I was like, the only thing, and not because I know he wanted her to stay behind. Like, I get that. He knows he's going there for a trap. But he should know by now that she would never let him leave her. That was the only thing where I was like, it's fine that you want to protect her like this, but do you think leaving in the middle of the night is going to stop her from following you? Except now she has to follow you by herself, where she could have went with you and Ethan and said she had to go by herself. That was literally the only one where I rolled my eyes at him. I was like, dude, she's literally going to follow you. What do you think? And then he asked,
like, she knows where you're going. She knows how to get there.
That was literally, but it wasn't enough to make me mad because I was like, that's cute. But I was like, instead you made her go by herself instead of, this was a perfect opportunity for you to be like, I really want to leave you behind, but I know you're going to follow me. So come on. Like, I wanted to do that, but that's okay.
I really liked this too. Yeah.
That's right. And Lisa Kleypas does that a lot.
Yes, she does. She does it perfectly. That's honestly, that was something that I loved about this book. That's something that I've loved about all of the ones that I've read, is that she does have them be strong, independent women, but it's never just, that's the whole focus of the book. It's never that turns into the entire focus of the book. It's just, it's shown to you, like Tiffany said, it's shown to you by their actions and by moving the story along. It's never just on page all the time.
Yep. Yeah. I know. And Ethan's like, this is my wife's friend. Like, she's coming. What are you doing? Yeah. Yeah.
She was, yeah.
Right.
Well, and when she like could outshoot him, I was like, I loved that scene so much when, her daddy had raised her to shoot a gun.
Yeah. That reminds me of, is it Eloise? Eloise does that. Eloise can shoot better than all the Bridgertons, and they're always mad about it. That happens in one of those. But
perfectly quietly feminist. Yes, absolutely.
Oh gosh, Candace, I could scream it from the rooftops. Everyone else, almost everyone else, does a horrible job of this, and I'm tired of it. I'm like, either do it right or stop writing it in the book, because you're just embarrassing yourself. Like, that's the tirade I've went on about this year, about all the historical arcs that I've read, and the only ones that have been good to me are by Lisa Kleypas, Lorraine Heath. What was the other authors that I read? I can't even remember them. All the other ones I've read, they're trying to pound home something. And I'm like, the people reading your books already know this. So why don't you just give me a good romance instead of trying to shout it at me? Like, I'm the wrong audience for you to be pushing this. I'm already a feminist. So stop screaming feminism at me. I'm here. I'm there. Who do you think is reading this that needs to be convinced? Because it's not me. And then Lisa Kleypas just writes this.
That's what makes her such a masterful storyteller to me, is that she's telling a story and she's telling a story about their lives, and she's showing you who they are and how independent and how strong they are, and she is putting that quiet feminist aspect in there. But she didn't start writing this to show a feminist character. She didn't start this with, and that makes all the difference,
Mm-hmm.
I just love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Do a workshop. I love it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I love it. So how about we talk about the Duke of Kingston? Let's talk about Sebastian, because he really is the third protagonist of this book.
True. Very true.
Something I wanted to bring up, because Jessin mentioned that she'd seen it in a lot of discussion groups about how some people were upset that Sebastian had a bastard son. Born before he ever met his wife, y'all. So let's just remember that. And I, of course, immediately am like, that's stupid for you to pick that. But let's talk through that. Let's see the consensus of people watching of if that's an issue for anyone else. Because I'll tell you, they make the point in the book. So many of our heroes that we love definitely have bastard kids everywhere. Okay, y'all? They definitely do. They're not wearing condoms. They're not pulling out. They have bastard kids everywhere. Okay. I love the fact when I reread Catherine Coulter that in that book, they literally have a quarterly meeting to discuss their bastard children and make sure that, because the Duke is I want to make sure we're taking care of our bastards. We don't just leave them to starve. And so they make a list of them every quarter or whatever.
That's a little bananas.
I mean, they don't have hundreds of them. They have the one guy had 2 and one had 4 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about how one of them had died and that they were really sad and they're going to take care of the mom so anyway, point being, all of them all have bastard kids. Okay. But some people were getting bitchy about that because they felt like that somehow betrays Evie, that he had a kid before he even knew her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand how, but let's see what everyone thinks. What do you think about that?
If you're asking me, I'm going to pipe up. So when I started early on in the book, when I started to realize, okay, this is his bastard son, I was the only thing that I was okay, Kingston was like that before he met Evie. So, okay. So when it was very clear that it happened before Evie, I was it didn't bother me. It wasn't, because it did seem like that's very likely that happened. I'm surprised he only has one,
Exactly. Right. Right. And I think what was just so tragic about this one is there's that one conversation he has with Kier where he's if I had you, if I had been able to get a hold of you, I would have raised you and loved you, and you had been raised with my kids.
Yeah.
That doesn't make your dad any less than. And when they do the toast to his dad, so good. But that's just so true, because he's I'm so thankful to your dad that you had a great father when the option was you were going to be murdered. And Merritt's being well, she was the one who was married. And he's sweetheart, it takes 2 people to commit adultery. It is not just your fault.
Yeah.
Even though I wouldn't take it back. And I think that is such a great thing to say. And I don't even blame his birth mom. I don't blame her within the abusive relationship she was in. I wouldn't want to read a romance about that one because I don't like reading about that happen. But the fact that his, that guy was going to have him murdered, you just wish that they'd had that time. But I don't know. It was so beautiful. She just does it so great, because
it was.
Kier just wants to keep the memory of his father around, and Sebastian is just but you're mine. We will remember your father, but you're mine, and you can be both of ours. And
I love how he said that. He was yes, you will always be his, but you can be mine too. And the way that he phrased it of, you can be if you want to be, you can be mine too. It was just I loved it so much. That was one of my favorite parts in the whole book.
I know, it's so good. I'm just trying to find it. That's definitely one that I highlighted, but that's really where Sebastian just shines in this so much.
Yes.
He's so, and when they finally use the key in the lock, and he's you don't have to do this. We don't have to check. I'm happy to just say that you are. And he's no, we have to know. And like when it clicks, and I'm just like, it just feels so good. Like it was so
good. And you know, I feel like seeing Sebastian in this book and how much he has changed from It Happened One Autumn, like night and day difference. And all of that is the transformative power of his love for Evie and his love for his family. Like, and that's what I freaking love about Lisa Kleypas' book so much, is that she gets that feeling of how love motivates people to change for the better for their person. You know, like I feel like that was the same thing that happened with Derek Craven a little bit. And I just love it so much. I feel like she just handles that so beautifully, and it's perfection.
Yeah. I know. That's so cute because he's like afraid to meet Evie. And he's like, she's just going to want to adopt you. It's fine. Like, it doesn't matter that you're 33. Like, she's happy to just have another kid to love. Like, it's pretty great.
And I love that moment when they meet and she's the one who goes out first to welcome him. And like I don't remember if she hugs him, but she goes out of her way. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love it so much.
I know, just like having sisters, and like when the youngest girl like finds out that they're from Robert the Bruce, and he's like, yes, we're Scottish, it's the Scotsman. Like, it's so cute. Like, because even though he had parents, like he was an only child of theirs, since obviously they had to adopt, you know, they couldn't have kids. And so to just be immediately like not just be enveloped into the St. Vincent's, but also into like Lillian and Marcus and like all of them, and you just know that he's going to be overflowing with family forever. It's just so beautiful.
Wow. So we have gushed about Lisa Kleypas for 40 minutes. Do you have any critiques? Like, I mean, of course, every book is going to have something that you could critique, but if there was something here that you could critique, like what would it be?
I don't really think so. I mean, when I give a book a 6 stars, because there's nothing that I like care to notice. Because the only place that could have been a pitfall for me, but Lisa never pushes it to that point, is the like reluctance to try, because he thinks he's not worthy or they think it won't work. And I don't usually like that level of reluctance, but every time he gets like too close to it, something would happen where they'd be pushed together again and he could ignore it for a while. But then like when he's going to leave and he finds the paper and he's just like, what the fuck was I going to do? Like that, you know, you weren't going to go anywhere. Like, this is the person for you. And I feel like she never pushed that too far. Like another author would have, I'm specifically thinking of an author right now. You know, there would have been some white things happening.
I finally got what you were putting out there.
I'm literally thinking about a specific author where I've seen that, oh, we can't be together, but let's have sex, and then I'm going to leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I feel like that never happens, because even when he's going to leave, like, he tells her he's going to leave. It isn't like, oh, I've had sex with you and now I feel guilty. Like, every time those two are together, it's a transformative experience. Like, oh my God, what does he say in one of them? During one of the times, he's just like, you completely have me. Like, what does he say? I can't find it right now in the moment, but he just is so overwhelmed by how they're meant for each other. So he can only fight it for so long. You know, like, it's not gonna happen. So that could have been overdone for me, but it wasn't. Like, I thought it was great. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
I think that if I had a critique of this book, it honestly doesn't have a thing to do with the romance. I feel like even though, like, when you mentioned there was that reluctance, I'm like, yeah, I can see that, but it didn't bother me in my reading experience the first time or the second time. Like, I just was so completely invested in their romance. Like, I was swooning, I was swept away, I loved it so much. If I was going to critique this, it would be probably just how quickly the side plot, like they were going to murder him, that thing was just like over really fast.
Yeah,
and that was that was such a big part of the story that it was just like wrapped up really quickly. But
even
again, it's not enough for me to like. I'm reading it for the romance, and it didn't bother me enough to, because I gave it 6 stars too. I adopted your system and gave it 6 stars.
No, you're totally right. And I remember that now, because when I reread it, it literally is solved in 3 pages.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that in another sense too, because that also kind of describes like his reluctance to be with her. Is he's building up this thing to be such a big thing, and then it's like, just give in. Like, it's meant to be.
That's true.
If we could say that Lisa Kleypas has really stacked the Russian dolls that tight, which I believe she can, I think that's kind of the point. Is it's like, we've been stressing about this the whole time, and then that's all that it took. So
that's true. That's true. That's honestly, that's a really great parallel with how their romance even works out. Like, yeah, that's interesting. I like that. So yeah, that was honestly, in general, especially when I'm reading Lisa Kleypas, because I've grown to love her so much this year, I don't go in there with a critical eye. I just go in there and I get so swept away in the story that it takes a lot for me to not feel the magic of her books. So.
Oh yeah. Honestly, even some of her older ones still do that for me. Like, I mean, I read Prince of Dreams, and that was the weirdest one of hers I read. And she still has that, like, edge in there that just makes it so enjoyable. But specifically her new, like the Robinellas, like, I thoroughly enjoyed every one I read. It's just a matter of, like, it goes back and forth whichever one I'm reading. Like, they're all fabulous. And
the Ravenels is so, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. There's so few authors I can say that about.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right? Like, I know Warda.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a murder mystery, but I was still like, but yeah, I just wanted the happily ever after.
Yeah. I kind of wanted that to be done because I kind of wanted there to be a huge, like, wedding with all of their family there. So I'm a little sad that they ended up doing like that in the barn.
There was a time jump there.
I know. I was like, I wanted all my babes together for him. That would have been amazing.
That would have made it a Wallflowers meet Ravenel. That really would have made it perfect, you know?
Yeah. I feel like we didn't get a real resolution. Did they convert this state into a school? Are living on Inslee? Yeah, we'll see. I mean, she could so easily do Marcus and Lillian's kids, because she says there's 6. And I was like, there you go. I want them all, please. Thank you. Like, literally, there was that line where Lillian was like, are you being, as the mother of 6 children, I would know. When she's talking to Sebastian, like, okay, let's move to that. Let's talk about Lillian and Sebastian having a talk, because that was really sweet. That's definitely a fan thing. And I feel like for some people that's going to be like good closure for the fact that Sebastian, threatened to rape and force her into marriage at one point. And she's like, I've forgiven you, but you've never actually we've never actually talked it out.
Yeah.
Say you're sorry, but your actions are you still hold yourself away from me so much. And I think that's interesting and so beautiful. Like, I love how scared of her that Sebastian is, though. Like, when they're sitting down to dinner, he's like, your wife's here? And he's like, he could hear her prowling around up there. Eating his breakfast, and he's like, when's she coming? I love it so much. It makes me so happy. I know. Well, Lillian's a tough cookie, but I mean,
she is,
it's silly of him to think that she wouldn't love him after all this time. She's married to her best friend for him and her husband have been best friends forever. So
I truly loved that too. Lillian was exactly the same. Like that little flashback scene when Merritt's talking about when she taught her how to throw a ball, and you got to see Lillian be a parent and be fierce and talk about that Merritt had muscles. Like, I just thought that was so cute. I just loved that so much.
Yes. Oh, I found it. she says it could have just as easily happened to Marcus. And he's like, that's hard to imagine. Not really. No matter how careful you are, there's always a risk. As a mother of 6 children, I should know. And then when they like walk down to the beach and like, I just love this whole book. And Merritt says to Marcus, she's like, Papa, you've made it nearly impossible for any man who doesn't suffer in comparison to you. And I'm like, stop it.
Yes, I know.
And then Marcus is like, I've come to grovel, my lady, if you're willing to listen. A one-man symphony in grovel minor D. It's so cute. I just fucking love them. Okay.
You know, I've heard this critique too. A lot of people, they were like, okay, let's stop having Sebastian in there. And I don't feel that way. Like, yeah. I love seeing them as adults. I love seeing them in different parts of their life. Like, I love it. I love the families, and I did not have that complaint.
So here's what I think happened. I'll give you my thing. Number one, I think those people have probably only read the Ravenels if they feel that way, because I read the Ravenels first. I read 1 through 6 before I read the Wallflowers. And in Devil in Spring and The Devil's Daughter, I skipped the stuff with Sebastian and Evie and those things because they meant nothing to me, because I didn't know who they were. So I skipped that stuff. And then after I read the Wallflowers, I went back and read those scenes in those books. And I was like, oh my God, I love them so much. So I feel like if people read the Ravenels all the way through, they'd be like, oh my God, I don't care about these two. Whereas having read the Wallflowers and the Ravenels, I wanted this book to be another 50 pages of just all of that cute stuff together, because this book is the culmination of 2 series.
It is, you know, and like, I definitely feel like if you are new, like if you, obviously everyone who's here has probably read this because we're talking spoilers, but I feel like the 2 essential books that you have to read before this one is the Wallflowers, Autumn and Winter. You have to read those 2 to get this. I mean, the Ravenels are just sort of like, that whole series is a bonus and you get so much out of it. But those 2, like, that's very much what is happening in Devil in Disguise.
Well, and it's like how I explained this to you. I said it to Tiffany too, and she agreed with me with it. Is like, the way that you felt having read those other ones is how you'll feel reading The Spy if you follow my advice to get to The Spy.
Yeah.
So I used that as an example to you because you were like, oh, I just want to start with Kingmakers. And I was like, you know how you felt about this? If you want to feel that way, you can do what you want. You can do what you want.
But not really. I'm doing it. I'm following your reading order.
I know you are.
Next week, after Pam Godwin, I'm going to start the air.
Yeah. No. And it just made me laugh because people who, and again, I feel like if someone did read this book alone, they would still think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But they might think there's too much filler of other characters.
Yeah, very
Whereas
true.
I don't think you feel that way if you've read all of her books. Because to me, I was like, you could give me 50 more pages of that. I'm good to go. And it's a similar feeling in the Kingmakers books because it's 2 series that fill in the holes to make that book. It's not a 6-star book if you haven't read all the other ones, because then it's just a good book. Then it's just a good book. So anyway, still a good book. I know.
Heavy Crown. I just finished that one. Well, I finished it last week. Super, super lovely.
Yes. Warda. So good. I'm going to re-listen to that one because I have the audiobook now. There's something so satisfying. I know.
I love that so much. Yes, I agree with you. That is so satisfying. Like, seeing
love Rose.
Having lived so much life and having trials or whatever, and still just being completely in love with them, especially how Sebastian talked about Evie, how he'd been separated from her and how much he missed her. And I was like, I love it so much.
The pool scene is so good.
It's so good.
He's like, I came right here because I knew you were listening. It's the bestest. Well, and he thinks she's a dream. He thinks she's a dream because he's swimming and thinking of her, and he's like, "You're not supposed to be here." And she's like, "Well, I knew you wanted me back."
I love that.
Never go again. And it's like, you told me to go. You were gone too long. I came back early.
And that's one reason why I love Devlin Winter is specifically because of how he just is obsessed with her. Like, I just love it so much because, you know, the rake of all rakes to be obsessed with one woman. I just cannot get enough of it.
It's true, man. I love it. I love it so much. Well, what other random things? Let's see. Those are kind of the main ones for me. They're just so great.
They are.
It was so romantic. This is one of the most romantic books I read this year.
Definitely.
I literally have quoted so much things. Like, literally, I drew like freaking hearts in my book, and with their names next to each other. Mm-hmm. It was only a scrap of paper, but she knew what it meant.
Something that I picked up on and that I noticed in, again, The Magic for the first time, that was the first time I noticed it, and that's what made me really love that book, is how good she is at conveying so much, like, feeling, the characters, how much they're feeling with just teeny tiny gestures. Like when she's taking care of Kier when he has amnesia and he doesn't even remember her yet, but he's just like, that woman, I want that woman here. And she's touching his face. And he ever so subtly leans into her touch before he even loves her. I was just like, this is what I love about Lisa Kleypas, is she puts those little details in that is just like building and building. And I'm just like, I can't get enough of that. That is just beautiful perfection. I love it so much. She makes them
so swoony. Yeah, McKenna has that line I'll like never forget of that one is she's like, oh, we should go to sleep. And he's like, I'm never going to sleep again because I've been dreaming of you and I awake and you're gone. And now you're in my arms. I'm never going to sleep again. And I was like, my poor baby.
A wee bully. This was one of my favorite nicknames. Yes. Oh my gosh, I just loved it. Yeah.
Yep. I love that.
Put it in my veins. Like, I just adore it. And that's why, like, I heard a few complaints too from people who were like, I mean, the romance was good, but the story just was lacking. And I'm like, but the romance is everything. Like I'm sorry, but like that's what I'm here for. I'm here for that romance.
I'm sorry. I only care about the plot if it's like, if the romance is the best it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm reading romance. I'm not reading for plot. I mean, if you do a good job, it's both.
Yeah.
You know, like I think Sophie Lark does that really good. I think she does. I think that her books that aren't as good are the ones where she loses that her romance is the middle. When she puts the romance at the middle, then her plot works. When she tries to get too fancy with some stuff, then it doesn't, you know. And I think Kleypas always knows how much we need to stay connected to the characters and to stay in their romance with them, and then just dusts in the plot with it, you know, and doesn't drown you in it.
And that's I feel like that's something that is hard in fantasy romance. It's hard to balance those two. And I feel like I've seen that a little bit in mafia romance too, where it can be hard to balance plot and romance. But I don't know. If you're reading a Lisa Kleypas novel for the plot, like, I think maybe you've got the wrong author. Like, not that she doesn't have good stories, because she does, but the romance is definitely the star.
It's honestly like going back to when we were ranting about some of the historicals we've read this year. We've said like they get these kitschy ideas for a plot, and then they spend too much time trying to flesh out the plot, and the romance suffers. That's been my biggest complaint about them. Is I'm like, cool, okay, so you're doing a governess romance with this person.
I was just thinking about that one.
The whole plot is about like her being a governess, and I'm like, I don't care about her being a governess. I don't care about the kid. I just care about how the kid gets her closer to the man. Like, oh my gosh, come on. This is true, Warda. This is true.
It's true. It's very true. Like I have not read a historical that I've loved since I finished my Lisa Kleypas Ravenel's Wallflower binge, and I'm just like having a really hard time finding one that I love, you know. And well,
you haven't read that many. You went to dark romance, so
that's true. Yeah,
you could read dark romance, but it is daunting. I mean, I said that, although I only read another historical just the other day because I read Lisa Kleypas the end of July, and then I didn't read another historical until I reread this.
Yeah.
And then I tried it. I read Lorraine Heath because I was like, okay, if anyone can downshift me from her, it would be Lorraine, because Lorraine also is able to keep sexual tension while having really intense plot, because the one I read had a really intense plot. But oh my gosh,
Stacy with the best comment.
Right, mic drop. We're done. That's it.
But even like I've read other historical romances this year that I've loved, that I've given 5 stars, and like I read Bombshell by Sarah MacLean, and that was a 5-star read, but it did not come close to this Lisa Kleypas or the whole Ravenel series that I've read, you know. So it's tough.
Wait for the dog. It's okay. No, I agree with that. And it's just so hard because I don't know how to like teach that to an author or anything, how to do that. I'm not trying to teach it, but it's Luke Christie. His name's Luke. But it's just something you know when it's there, and when it's not, I feel like I'm wasting my time. So I've had a lot of 3-star historicals this year, and that's sad because historicals were my favorite subgenre forever. And that's been kind of usurped by dark romance, because to me that gives me that same, it scratches the same itch of like, our love is so intense that it's going to block out a lot of other things. And that's what I want from it. And like contemporary doesn't even come close to that most of the time, you know? So.
Okay, let's talk about this real quick and then we can be done for the night.
I mean, I think it was, but insta-love is a subtrope. Like, I think it was insta-love. What's wrong with that? People think that that's bad. Insta-love's bad when it's done bad.
Exactly. There you go. That's the perfect way to say it. It was insta-love, but isn't that part of the magic of romance, is when you see that person and you just know there's something different. And that was what was so magical about their first meeting. One of the things is because they both recognized there was something different about meeting this person. And it wasn't love right at first, but like it quickly developed into that.
Yeah. No, that I think that exactly, like insta-love is a trope, the same that like enemies to lovers or whatever. And insta-love is real. I would say that insta-love is real. One of my best friends, her parents, they were married, I think 20 days after they met, and they've been married for 35 years. Like, it exists. It doesn't mean it's not rare and that it shouldn't be like, you have to carry it out. You can't just have it and us believe it. Like, they had insta-lust, insta-love feelings for each other. And I would say it was insta-love and not just insta-lust because of the way Keir thinks of her, right?
Exactly.
First interaction, he calls her a goddess who's just so far above him.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that instant chemistry. It isn't just like, I want to bang her. It's, I want to spend time with you. I want to rearrange my schedule so that I can be with you for every minute that you're here.
Yeah.
That's what makes this insta-love, and like it works. But then it has a setback because there's an amnesia plot in here. So what the heck? And he insta falls for her again.
I know.
It's a insta-love.
Like the moment when he realizes when he remembers, I was like, and this is what proves that they're soulmates. And I love that. Like I love that because it didn't feel forced or fake.
Right. It's so powerful. On the reread, I really picked up on this too, because when Garrett is seeing to him and he's like, well, I remember this and then I don't remember anything. And he's like, it was just a week. And Merritt is thinking Keir's thinking, well, I couldn't have forgotten that much in a week. And Merritt thinks, but it was everything. Like those 2 days were you've forgotten everything. And so it's just this heart crushing thing because he's thinking like, I feel something for this woman, but it can't be anything. There can't be anything. I wouldn't have let there be anything. And she's thinking that was everything. And I think that really reinforces that it was like an insta connection, insta love, because he's like, I told her about my dad. Because she knows all this stuff. And he's like, how did I feel about this woman that I told her all of these things about me? It's amazing. I don't know. I get why people are saying that, but I don't think it's a critique. Like is insta-love. This is a case of insta-love done right.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is.
Like that's so true, because honestly, I usually struggle with insta-love, insta-lust in books for sure. But this is a case of it was done to perfection. It was done right. I would even say that Flow by Kennedy Ryan is insta-love too, and it has that same, you know, and that one worked for me for sure. So it definitely can work. It just has to be done right. And I don't know how to do it right. I'm not saying that I know how, but it was done right here.
Right. I think too, because the setting was historical, because they have the instant connection and they have dinner where they talk.
Yes.
You know, and they don't get the, you know, they end up getting the chance to sleep together and then he forgets about it. So it doesn't get the chance to like go past that right away. So, because I like a one night stand now and then. And I just think that this is a version of that.
Yeah.
That's done right, because they work sometimes. So
exactly.
The people's critique was possible, but that's not enough to dislike it. If it's done well,
just like anything, just like I feel like any trope.
I hate. There we
go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
that's exactly what it is. Well, should we finish?
I guess. Man.
I got people coming into my house. It's going to get loud here in a minute, so I guess I gotta end.
Over. Well, next month is Lord of Scoundrels, so you have to finish that.
Sassy.
Well, you've been trying to read it for a long time, and I think Jessica and Dane deserve a full chance.
I'm gonna give it to him. I'm going to read it physically, because for some reason that audio just wasn't working. So I'm gonna do it for sure.
Yeah. I know. She's so great.
All right. So Lord of Scoundrels next month. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to chat with us tonight. This was so much fun. Love y'all. We'll see you next time.